Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It is January the 13th. This will be our chart listing for today. And really, until about noontime, you really almost had to play this as a range. However, if you drew this trend line off these first couple of swings here, we pretty much trended up. I mean, we started higher here at 6:30 or so this morning, 7 o'clock. That's where we bottomed here, right between 6:30 and 7. So really from 7 a.m. till just before 2 o'clock, we were trending up. That's an uptrend. So still doesn't mean that there's not a range here. You can see we did fail on the breakout, although we traded quite a bit higher before we failed and came back, and then we just kind of chopped around both sides of that previous resistance area there. It acted as support and resistance into the close. So it, there's, if you measure this first leg here, and we got a perfect, perfect to the tick measured move on that, but then I would measure this next leg here and see for a possible, and you can see we didn't quite make that measured leg, and we wouldn't have even gotten close on if you measured the range. We didn't even probably get halfway. So I believe the range was still in play, but we had a lot of momentum on this rally here on this two-tier channel, and we did break out temporarily, but eventually we failed and came back like you almost always expect prices to do. So big picture, I would just say really we trended up most of the day, but we traded within this range for more than half the day as well. So really from the overnight hours, so from yesterday at 5 o'clock all the way to, well, we broke out right here, right around noon. So really the last 2 hours of the trading were outside that range. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. We really got a two-tiered channel here, and that's what you need to be playing. But at the same time, you needed to respect the overnight range highs as long as they, until prices proved they weren't in play. And it looked like that here because we got this little spike in channel up, but it wasn't long before we reversed and traded back down again. So anyway, let's back out. You see the big picture and kind of what my thinking was there. Let's back out and we'll talk about the trades. Make sure we can see this. I'm going to remove these. I'm going to remove these measured legs now. They just kind of get in the way and clog things up. But you can see we came in here at 7 o'clock and bottomed out right here. There's a higher low here, and you can clearly see that support. It's a shame we didn't get a good signal bar here. I don't like that signal bar. We're a long way away from the EMA, so we're probably coming back. But we turned down right here, and you get a failed second entry short. It's not ideal because it didn't come back to the EMA. However, that has a lot of momentum to it, and so you may want to take that trade. It's a little bit congestive too. Generally, I'd want it to come back to the EMA on a really good reversal setup and bounce off that EMA on a failed second entry short. But there's reasons to like that one because there is a lot of momentum, and it's clearly only one leg up, so you're likely to get another leg, and we actually get much more than that. We actually come back again right here, it's right off that key entry point. It confirms it, but it's out of congestion. You're a long way away from the EMA. You just don't want to enter like that because it's probably going to fail on you. Most cases it will. It didn't this time, but in most cases it will. We had a lot of momentum on that little move, and then of course you get your break, and you get two pushes to a new high, and you make that new high. It's almost always better. I probably should have marked that one green because I like those aggressive ones sometimes. Because you're probably coming back to the EMA at a minimum. However, you could catch one of those big moves that turns out to be an important high for the day, and we could have traded down sharply. We didn't, but it's still good for a scalp. This is the better play. Wait on the lower high. You still got plenty of room back to the EMA. There's a failure here. I don't like that. It's too congestive, and we really didn't we aren't, we're on the underside of the EMA, and we're not to the high of the range yet. So there's a lot of reasons to be concerned. I mean, it's really hard to know what prices are doing here. We're just kind of working sideways. We dropped a little bit, but we're still going sideways, still congestive. So just kind of wait. We just keep meandering along, and then we get into a tighter range here. We're actually in the lower half of this little range is what happens. And we really, you could also say, hey, we formed a new one here. But we came back and we got another test of, notice we made that level. We tested it once and then we tested it twice, and we made a lower high too. And it's a fairly bearish bar. So I like going short on that one, just as a failed break out of that congestion. Your hope is it does this right here, but it doesn't. But you still get a scalp. You probably wouldn't want to hang out, hold on to this all the way through here. You probably would have scalped out and said that's enough. And we do break higher right there, but that's still just too congestive. There's no way you can go short there. So unfortunately, unless you hung on to any runners through that, which most people won't, if you were brave enough to do it, then you would have got a nice move here. But I'm not going to hold on to one like that personally. So then we break out the low side and we move all the way down here. I marked this one green again because it might turn out to be one of those important lows. Look how far we've gotten away from the EMA after we were going sideways. Prices are going to come back and test this breakout, even if we're going lower. And so you want to try to ride that back if you're a good chart reader. When you see these green ones, these are for chart reader people that are really good chart readers. And even then, you're taking a little bit of a gamble. So that's why I mark them green. Because we do have people at we have more advanced traders that come in here to watch these as well. And so I mark all of them because people will ask me about it, and it just saves me from having to talk about it later. So, but anyway, we drop down here and we get so far away from them, but you got a little trend channel working down, and you get a close out. Even though you don't really get a rally, you still get a close outside and a new low, and then you get this small bullish bar, and that bar is only 6 ticks. It's relatively low risk to try to ride that back. So I like that trade. And off it goes. And if you catch this is a nice rally again on that second leg up. And again, we got a perfect measured move to here to the tick. So this was a nice move. It's actually a spike in channel. And you can see that it spikes up and it goes into this channel. And it's probably actually, well, it's not going to draw that way. It's probably actually more like this and two-tiered. And you can see that there. It's like a two-tiered. It's a spiking channel. I left it the way I had it drawn, but that's probably the proper way. We stayed in this upper half the whole time until we overshot it and then turned down. But that's how I played it right there. And after the fact, it's a little easier to see that it probably was just a two-tiered and this was part of it. So, but you really don't get a good chance to enter this, unfortunately. We're just so far away from the EMA, and even though it's going higher, I don't see any really good setups here. And of course, then we overshoot it. We come down, we try to go higher once, we try to go higher twice, and it fails. I like going short there. You should get enough momentum out of that to at least get a scalp. And hey, we may turn back down and go all the way back down to the low of the range. This time I'm still thinking range because this hasn't been confirmed. We've only got 2 swings, hadn't been confirmed yet. So we could be coming all the way back down. We don't get that. It's just good for a scalp, but that's what you would expect to get a minimum of a scalp out of it. Then we bounce, and we're just kind of meandering sideways again, and I don't see anything here I like. There is a failed second entry long right here. Notice that new high. That's a new swing high, and so you go out. You make a first entry, then you go lower, so it's a second entry. But it's more sideways. If anything, you might treat this as a failed breakout, and by the time it closes, you don't have much room back to that EMA or the lows here. I don't have that drawn on there, but if you just draw that across there. There may be room to scalp out there. I don't know. It's real close. Actually, I don't have that drawn. know if that's square across there or not. It doesn't look like it, but anyway, you get the point. There's not a lot of room there. So you get a lower high here, but again, it's real congestive. It would have worked, but I don't like the way it's set up. It's just hard to know what prices are. It's just so flat there. Just kind of stay out of that. Then, of course, we drop down. We make a low. We try to go lower once. Then we try to go lower twice. And this actually breaks lower and turns and breaks out the other side. So you know you can probably ride that back to the EMA. Now, there's not going to be room to get out here. But you know you're probably going back to that EMA, and this is probably going to trap people. This is one of those failed breakouts that often turn out to be important lows or highs, and again, it was an important low, and look at it go. And if you catch that, you easily get a runner on this, and this one you might ride it all the way out. So it's a great entry. This is not truly a reversal pattern. I mean, it is a reversal pattern. It's not a true failed second entry short, but it's still a reversal pattern. Notice you make that low. Look how we shot through that EMA. We come back, and then this actually breaks lower first and turns up. I don't know if I would trade that on an engulfing bar. I like waiting on this one to close and then going long right there, because you're going to at least probably get the next leg, like equal leg like that. But this thing just takes on off. There's a lot of momentum there. I don't know what changed right here, but something happened and the market woke up again. But they trapped all the shorts in and probably a lot of longs out when it broke lower right there, and then it takes off. And that's what happens when you catch those important areas where it traps in the wrong traders and traps out the right traders. So all the wrong traders have to exit, and look at them all exiting, and all the ones that got trapped out and realize, hey, it's going the other way, then they have to jump in, and they wait on a little correction, and they jump in, and it does it all over again. And then you get your next leg. So we run up. There's actually a second entry long right here, but that's just too congestive. Notice your high, first entry, then it pulls back, makes it a lower high when it breaks higher there. That's a second entry long. I don't like it though, because you did get a break, and you don't have a lot of room to your new high. And notice you get a new high, and then you make a lower high. And this is actually a triple test. We actually tested that way over here. The range is really right here, but notice we made that high. We test it once, we test it twice, and again you get a big bearish bar, and you got a little more room to get out on this one. And you don't really know at this point, you don't really know that there's a spike in channel. I'm just playing that this channel had a break and a couple of pushes to a new high, and now as a triple test. And again, you probably want to wait on a lower high here, and that's why I marked this one green. But I still like it because you might catch the high of this range on a failed break. And plus, you're also still thinking failed breakout, and this is the high of the range. So there's a lot of reasons to be thinking short right there. Again, you're better off to wait on the lower high, and you never get that. And we actually push higher and then pull back and make a triple test at the bottom. Notice your low once, you test it twice, and you test it a third time. And it takes a lot of buying for this to be selling. This opened right here, sold all the way down to here, and looked how bearish it was. And then suddenly that buying comes in, and it closes almost on its high. That's telling you something. Go long right there. You probably won't have enough room to get out between here and there. That's an important piece of it. I like this trade regardless, but that's something to be concerned about. People always ask me that. Well, why'd you take that trade? You didn't have room to scalp out. Well, I like the context of the chart. We're trending up here, and this thing is not done to the upside. I mean, like I said, that bar right there alone is very telling. So I like going long there. But you do need to be concerned because sometimes it'll hit that. And notice that it pushed on. Notice how easily you would have scalped out of this, and then it comes back. And it ends up closing back inside. So then you think, well, we're not going higher after all. We just took advantage of that momentum and that trap where it tried to go lower 3 times, and this breaks out of the low. I mean, when this breaks out, you expect it to fail and go back to the upside again. Just like when it broke out. If you'd had a good signal bar here, I probably would have marked that one green or red, just to ride it back down. That's all we're doing is playing range rules here. So it runs up, pulls back, it keeps working up, and then we're just going sideways. And again, you just don't really have any room to go long. There's no good longs here. You might have looked at this as a reversal, but it's not a true reversal pattern. It is a failed second entry short, and I think you probably could have got a scalp out of that, but you're too far away from the EMA, and you have been since here. So this is almost an hour. We're getting going towards an hour here. But anyway, you make this high, you test it once, and then you test it twice, and this actually broke higher and turned down. I like going short on the engulfing bar right here because we've tried to go higher 3 times and failed. We're probably going, and there's plenty of room back down to this trend line, and we may go all the way back to the other side, and we're probably at least, notice that once prices broke through here, we did come back and test it, but generally they'll test it more than once, and so we were coming back to test that again right here. But I like this one. It's a little aggressive because you're trying to pick a top, but again, that's a triple test. I don't have my line there, but let me just draw you a line so you can see it. And you made the high, you test it once, pulled away, you came back and tested it again, and you broke higher by 1 tick. So I like going short on engulfing bar. Just try to ride this back down to the trend channel. And then you actually get a true reversal failed second entry long that sets up a great short here. Notice you go first entry and then second entry. It's right off the EMA. It breaks higher, turns down. Look how bearish. I like going short there on the failed second entry long. So this is technically just a first entry short, but it's a failure to the long side that sets up a great short. And this is just right after 2, but on such a good setup with such a good signal bar, just like being in the first minute or so. I mean, you can see that's at 14:02, just a minute or 2 into 2 o'clock. If you get a good setup within those first couple of minutes, take it. And that would have been a great entry. And that did it for the day. So that's what I saw today. It's a pretty good trading day, actually, considering it looked like it was just going to be another typical range type day. Well, there's some moments. This is where you got to be careful. When you get in, when you start getting in this sideways stuff, you got to be careful in that. Just make sure you play in the rules and you play them, you're playing them properly for the most part, and you should be okay. So, but unfortunately, lately you get a lot of this where you get these big moves and then you go sideways, and then you get a big move and then you go sideways, and so you don't always, you don't get a lot of perfect setups to trade that, even though there's a reason you could trade every one of these I marked. So when you get a chance to trade them, it may be the only way you get to play those. So just keep it in mind. Just like this one, that's a little congestive, but we've been trending up for a while, and it looks like prices are about to reverse here. And you should at least get another leg down, hopefully, which you do. It's not quite a measured leg, but you get enough to get a scalp. And plus, that's going to trap people. And that's what you're really playing there. And you see how it kind of moves down pretty quickly. Real quickly, I meant to add that we have the forum set up again for the $10 a month. Just $10 a join and then $10 a month thereafter. So some of you had asked me, we ran that for a little while and then we stopped it, but we've got it back again. So if you're interested in the forum, again, that only gives you access to the Pat's support forum, where it's pretty much like any trading forum, except it's under our lock and key, and you have to be a member to be in there. That way we can control it and keep it under control, and you can actually learn something without all the craziness that you usually find in these trading forums and so forth. So if you're interested in our forum, we're going to run that again. I don't know how long I'll do it. It may last a week or 2 again. But once you join, if you're joining at the $10 a month, you can keep it in, indefinitely. So I won't last until you cancel. So anyway, it's there if you want to take advantage of that. I meant to bring that up at the beginning of the video, but I forgot. But anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm trying to keep these to around 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes, and it's been hard lately, and so I'm going to wrap it up, and we'll keep it under 20 minutes, and we'll be back again to do it tomorrow and wrap up another week, believe it or not. But I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. and we'll see you next time.